Hi guys, welcome to the latest of the 10-minute rants that I've been putting out, and unusually this one does not involve the SNP. So apologies if that's your favourites, but no doubt we'll be back in line with them very soon. I might even do one later on because they do tremendously annoying things over the last few days. Anyway, this episode I'm going to talk about Rangers AGM, which happened just yesterday. And it seems quite fitting it's the start of the pantomime season, because it certainly was a bit of a horror showing. Now the first thing that happened was the AGM had to be delayed, and it had to be delayed by trying to get people into the venue which was too small. Now the writing was on the wall the night before, because Rangers put out an announcement suggesting that if there was not enough seats in the place, people could stand. And if there was not enough standing area, or for people who couldn't get a seat but needed to sit down, they could go to the Club 72 suite at the Govan stand, Sandy Jardine stand. So they obviously anticipated that this wasn't going to be a big enough venue for the club's AGM, because they knew roughly how many's been going since 2015 and regime change. So they'll have known roughly how many people have been going into the auditorium at the Armadillo for the last few years, which was always easy to get in and out of. Now, some people seemed surprised that this venue was too small for a club event, but since the opening of new Edmiston House, we've already found out that it's too small for the club's Player of the Year awards. It's too small for players' testimonial dinners. It's too small for some of the great nights that the Rangers charity put on. So, is it any surprise it's too small for an AGM? An AGM that we know roughly how many people's going to come, because the number will have been the same as the last few years, and we would have known fine well how many people went into the Armadillo. But what a lot of people have missed out is that the venue is smaller than we were told it would be when the applications were first put into Glasgow City Council to build the venue. Back then, James Bisgrove was the commercial director, and he took great pleasure in telling everybody that this fantastic venue that he was driving for us. And he put numbers on the amount of people that would be able to get into the venue, and the numbers were 750 seated and 500 to sit for dinners. But now that the place is open, and this information, both the things I'm telling you, the figures given at the time of the planning of the venue, they're on Rangers' website. And now if you go onto Rangers' website, you'll find a section on New Edmiston House that will tell you how many people can actually use it. And the numbers are approximately a third less than the numbers we were told when it got built. When it was in planning. So if it's a third less, why is that? There's only one or two reasons. We were either over-egging it, a couple of 3 years ago when we were announcing it, and that might be possible because we tend to over-egg quite a lot of announcements when James was the commercial director. However, I don't think that's the case. I think it's more probable that we've reduced the original building since planning. Now, that could be a lot of things. That could be financial reasons. That could be that we've just decided that, I don't know, did we give up more space to the footprint for retail? I don't know. All I do know is James Bisgrove told us 2 or 3 years ago you would get 700 people, 750 people possibly, the numbers, I'll get them and put them on the screen, standing at this place, and 500 for a meal. And the figures we've got today are substantially less than that. You're down to about 350 for a meal and 500 standing. So, what happened? I don't know. But I do know we've got a damn sight smaller space than we had before, and one that's unusual for the majority of Rangers events. As I said previously, our AGM, our Player of the Year, players' testimonial dinners, and numerous Rangers charity events have all had to go off-site. But we were, this was meant to be a fantastic event space that was going to, this was the best bit, this was going to give us £1 million a year on the bottom line. Now, the figures it costs to build it, because some people have suggested, well, we only got the facility we could afford. Well, we overspent on the facility, because I'm sure that originally we were going to spend 14 million, and I believe we spent either 17 or 18 million on this. So we actually overspent on it, and we've got less for it, which is incredible. And when you think that quite a lot of that money was funded up by the fans, and we were told a few AGMs ago that we would, the money was all covered, it was all accounted for. So it's a bit bizarre to me that we've suddenly got this place that the club can't use. But back to the million, we're going to make £1 million a year as well, we were told by James, which is fantastic, because that means for all that investment, it will be, 2040 before we see any return on it. That's if we actually do, and we're able to achieve £1 million profit a year off of this building. So the whole new, I mean, listen, nice looking thing, museums, feedback it's getting is absolutely incredible. But it just isn't right. It does not make sense. So back onto the actual AGM yesterday, once it started in a event place that was too small, with some cracking questions. We had Greta Orangeburg turned up and was adamant, was wanting to know about Rangers net zero, and was very, very perturbed at the end, and hilariously frog marched out the auditorium screaming, "No surrender." So what started as not a very good performance, it ended up in a high crescendo for Greta Orangeburg, so well done, sir. We found out that we've got a £10.5 million hole in the accounts before we take player trading into account. And we were told a bit bizarrely that the chairman's been doing some tyre kicking. And he's looking at, he's looking at ways of reducing that going forward, this £10.5 million, and it's guaranteed us that will reduce, which is a massive claim when you consider we don't have Champions League this year, which we had last year, and many are expecting on that alone £10 million less of income. But we're going to tyre kick to get £10.5 million gap reduced. Massive claim, massive claim. And what I found a bit bizarre, when we've got shareholders there who are asking questions about a business, you would imagine that these accounts are 6 months old. These are figures from the summer. I would have found it more pleasing, more assuring, if the people running this business were to stand up and say, look, we had this £10.5 million up until the summer there of loss. However, this is what we've done since then. We have saved this, we have saved that, we have saved the next thing. That has saved us approximately X millions of pounds. And what we plan to do over the next 6 months is trim X, Y and Z to bring down some more X millions of pounds. That ain't the way Rangers does business. What Rangers do is, we tell shareholders, asking very sensible questions, we're tyre kicking, and we'll be sure to bring it down. With nothing behind that. Just words. No examples of what we've done to rectify it, because as I say, these accounts we're talking about finished in the summer. We're now in the winter. There was no comment whatsoever about what we've done since then to redress that balance, but just told we're tyre kicking to look at ways of saving it. You go to any company, proper company AGM, and answer shareholders like that, I would quite think you would get quite a different response. Okay. The other bizarre questions, I mean, this is why I've stopped going, right? I used to frequent since about 2012, funnily enough, onwards I started frequenting the AGMs, and I've been for the last few years, because I find it two things cringeworthy. Some of the questions and some of the buzzword answers we get. There is no business planning, structure, talk about. It's just stupid questions and buzzword answers. That's it. And we got, now this actually was a sensible suggestion, but put across absolutely bizarrely. Was one fan who's upset about the way we get treated when we go, particularly abroad, as away fans. which is a valid point. But to offer a Rangers director a spare room in your apartment in Figueroa or wherever it was, to go and attend a game with you and put a disguise on, and you can come and see what it's like to get treated as a Rangers fan abroad. Bonkers. Now, got news for you. Rangers should already know how their fans get treated abroad, because Rangers take over a whole team of people to work with the fans every single European away game. We've all seen it. Yeah, you've got your fan liaison, you've got stewarding people there, you've got security team there. So Rangers know fine well how Rangers fans get treated abroad, because we have fans who are employed with the club that travel over with them, and if they've not seen it and can report back, then what do they do? Are they hiding when it kicks off? Do they know are there when these things, horrific things happen, when people are trying to get into Bromby? My own son was crushed under a fence that night. I'm quite sure they do. So we don't need to take James Bisgrove and disguise him and put him up in your spare room in your flat in Figueroa. Absolute chaos. I thought AGMs where the top table would say sort of derogatory things to the Rangers fans in attendance, and in fact, since the days of the Rump statement, when Rangers PR team, supported or not supported by the board at the time, put a club statement referring to the fans as Rump. What we got yesterday was having a pop at the Subway Loyal. Now, as a fan, it does sometimes frustrate me if the crowd start leaving early, but who am I as a fan to question the reasoning behind anybody who pays the same money as me if they want to watch 50 minutes of the game, 70 minutes of the game, or 100 minutes of the game? That's down to them. Now, it might not please me as a fan, when, especially if it's a tight game, could potentially do with some extra vocal support. But who am I to criticise or question why anybody has to leave the stadium early? So when you see a chairman of the club at an AGM having a pop at, in his words, the Subway Loyal, I find that quite disingenuous, if I'm being truthful. It's not that far away from when Summers sat at an AGM and told the Rangers support, see, when you're the Rangers chairman, you can do what you want at AGMs, but until then I'm the Rangers chairman. It was a similar level, and other people might have picked that up differently. I'm only giving you my opinion. I thought it was completely disingenuous. And we carried that on with, I think it was the orange bonnet. Right, you see the orange bonnet, everybody knows him. And I'm quite sure it was someone asked about away tickets. And I tell you something, see, I learned a lot about that guy when I was visiting a place that he lives, and the things that he does for others. Getting up crack of dawn in the morning to go and make sure he gets people's favourite loaves and bread from bakeries opening up to bring them back across the town and give them to the people that live in the same community as him. People don't realise this. And he's crackers, right? He's as mad as a bag of cats, but I've got a bit of time for the lad. And he was asking about his ticket allocation, and he always has a pop about disabled allocations. It becomes a sort of norm at the AGM. And I believe it was when he was asked this year and he was promised tickets, he was told, well, does the man that promised you them, can you see him here now? Well, I think that was a pop at Stuart Robertson, because I think from memory he was told one AGM to come down the front and have a talk and sort it out. So I think that's what the comment was aimed at. And that sort of lines me up nicely for where I'm going with the next one, because there seems to, and I predicted this, by the way, when the fans were up in arms about Wilson leaving and Stuart Robertson leaving and stuff, I predicted this. All we're going to do is create another buffer zone for the people that are there, because it'll be their fault, and I can blame them for a wee bit. And that happened twice, at least twice in the AGM yesterday. There was this sort of derogatory comment about the Bunnets tickets, about can you see the guy that's here anymore? And then we went on about the football board. At one point we were told about this new football board as if this was groundbreaking stuff, a new era in how to manage football with this football board. Well, I remember in 2013 Sandy Easdale was on a football board at Rangers Football Club, so it's neither groundbreaking or new. But it's getting sold to us as, you know, we've got this new thing, the football board, and it's going to solve all our problems, and it's new and it's groundbreaking and all this buzzword stuff. Completely bonkers. And there was another clip made at the executive team about how changes came in that and they had to be made. Well, I've got news for you, Rangers current board. Rangers fans like myself and many others have been telling you for a long, long time how totally inept some of your executive team were. But we were always told we were wrong. Turns out we were right. Because you've sacked most of them, bar one. You promoted the other one that was getting called out for some of his antics. But the rest of them you sacked. And now, lo and behold, you're finger pointing at this executive board that's no longer there, that you employed for all this time. But as I predicted months ago, that's what you're always going to do. Buy some time, blame the others, and the whole thing just rolls on. And we'll have more and more AGMs where we don't hear about what we've done to rectify accounts that are already 6 months old and what we're going to do going forward. We even had the refusal to talk about the squad, which was fantastic. Now, bearing in mind, we're there to talk about accounts that finished in the summer. Now, in the summer, we had both James Bisgrove and John Bennett waxing lyrically about the squad. One of them told us it was a Champions League level squad. I think that was James Bisgrove that told us that. And then John Bennett had previously told us that our squad, Connor Goldson had told them, and he believed them, that it was the best squad we'd ever had. Then we get to an AGM where people are wanting to know the wheres and whys and what's happened, and they're told, we are not here to talk about the squad. It's fantastic, isn't it? So, sorry to rabbit on a wee bit, guys. Get my opinion out. Everybody's had an opinion of the AGM over the last 24 hours. Just thought I would put mine out there. And a fantastic array of the usual, I'm afraid. And as I said, I stopped going because I've just got completely fed up listening to stupid inane questions and buzzword answers. And when people do actually ask sensible questions, get answers like, we're not going to talk about that. Wow, incredible. So till next year, guys, see where the pantomime takes us next year. Bye now.